Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. First things first, a big congratulations to last week's giveaway winner, Flashing Unicorn Cupcake Kisses. As always, I do a giveaway every single week, so if you're interested, I'll tell you how to enter later on in the video. That said, we have some malicious compliance stories, and our first story of the day is by pfunk8687. Wanna keep me on a short leash? Sure, that's fine. I'll just watch this $250,000 job spiral out of control. My job title is hard to explain, but I do some basic engineering, manage a shop, and am in charge of all the purchasing for said shop. I work directly with mechanical and electrical engineering, which in itself can be a difficult thing to do at times. I was given a directive by 2 engineers and a sales manager on an electrical project, as well as the modification of some stock, off-the-shelf type electrical motors for a large project we'd bid on and received approval on. Typically, with things like this, I am given the ability to determine what materials, tools, etc. that may have been needed to complete these types of jobs. But lately, the company seems disorganized and I've been given pretty vague directive, followed up by undermining and questioning insignificant, obscure things that have ultimately had no bearing on any of the projects, which in turn has wasted quite a bit of my time. When asked why my decisions were being scrutinized so much, I didn't really get any clear reasoning, and they seemed bothered that I would even ask such a question. Well, this time around, I was explicitly told to have our installers, technicians, and our machinist pick out all of their own needed materials, and to hand that off to the engineering team where they would review it and then hand it back off to me for ordering. Great, that's fine, that's less legwork for me anyhow. Well, I did as I was instructed to do. I ordered all of what was requested, despite seeing a multitude of red flags along the way. We entirely missed the deadline, it brought our business and the customer's entire production line to a screeching halt, and everyone seems to be pointing fingers every which way. The customer is irate and has expressed that this was the last time we'd be allowed to retrofit anything in their facility. This is a long-time repeat customer. Eventually, when the complaints and accusations made their way across my desk, my response was simply, I ordered exactly what I was asked to order. Sorry, things didn't work out. Maniacal laughs were had the entire way home from work yesterday. So let me ask you guys, if you work at a place and over time it slowly becomes disorganized and you've been given a pretty vague directive and kind of questioned as far as your job goes and your capabilities and are told to do exactly X and Y, and you know that doing X and Y that they told you will absolutely not work and cause dysfunction, do you go ahead and do it just to get back at them? Or would you actually go against what they said and do the thing that would make it all work out, risking that they would yell at you because you didn't do it the dysfunctional way? Let me know which of these two would be your preferred route in the comments down below. Our next story is by Kevat, estimate of 2 weeks? Okay, you do it then. I used to work as an IT developer at a company. Let's call it Walmart with 3 L's. There was an IT consulting firm that some of the non-IT folks loved. Let's call them DRA. This firm had an awful habit of doing things without consulting us and then throwing it over the wall to us when something failed. They also loved buying new tools which were not really needed or good fits, but they had an in with the decision makers and often got what they wanted. One of the products they really wanted to buy was an e-commerce plugin. We met with a sales guy and an engineering guy who worked for said e-commerce plugin. My team kept explaining how it would be a massive project to move or integrate their plugin with our current database since the data models and structures were so different. We also had hundreds of thousands of products, each with different attributes, so it wouldn't be easy. And yet, in order to make a sale, the e-commerce plugin guys and DRA kept telling everyone it was a minor 2-week project and that we should just buy the plugin worth a few $100,000. All of this led to me having to meet with said plugin sales and developer. Now the fun part. My manager had let me know that we have budget to hire a team for a 2-week project to get this rolling. The meeting started as expected with the sales guy pitching how incredibly easy the tool is. Any real IT team would be able to easily implement it. I explained the situation with the different data models and how it would be tons of work, but he wouldn't have it. He was adamant that it could be easily done in 2 weeks. His team had worked on many such integrations before, so he knew what he was talking about, he claimed. So I finally pulled the ace card and said, "That's great news! I just heard from my manager that we have budget to hire a team for 2 weeks just for this integration. Let's get your guys on board and have them do the integration so we can be up and running." Suddenly, entire tone of the meeting changed. "Hang on, we cannot commit to a 2-week time frame without looking at your current database. We need to understand what we are up against." I really lost it at that point and made it a point to directly ask, why is it that when my team has to do it, it's a quick 2-week project, but when your team has to do it, you're suddenly not sure? Why did you even give a 2-week estimate when you know you have not analyzed the existing database, and we have been telling you it's way more complicated than it looks? I got no answers to my questions and never heard back from that plugin team again. DRA, however, continued to operate as is and kept bringing in other tools and plugins that were not needed but expensive. Really bright and very well executed by OP here. It's extremely satisfying to be able to go, "Oh, okay, well, since you guys say you can do it in 2 weeks, come on over, let's do it. I'm ready to commit to this thing that you didn't think we were ready to commit to." And all of a sudden they go, whoa, hold on, 2 weeks, hold on there, buddy. And you make them look like absolute fools right in front of you. I hope they felt as embarrassed as it was embarrassing to see. Our next story is by CdnPoster. You want it as early as possible? Will do. I deliver newspapers for my side hustle. Rule is before 6 a.m. But one person always complains. They want their paper as early as possible. Like, the second it rolls off the printing press, it should be in their mailbox within 3 seconds. Not gonna happen. But I did rearrange my route so that they got their paper as early as possible, with my supervisor's permission, as we were tired of the complaints. The problem? They had a dog. That's how they were so aware of their delivery time. So now, instead of the dog barking his head off at like 5:45 a.m. or so, he was barking his head off at 2 a.m., 2:15 a.m. when I was delivering. They started complaining about too early, and I reminded them that they asked for as early as possible and continued to do so. They want to complain? Fine. They did that and they got what they asked for. Let's see what happens if they complain again. I never thought that a dog barking at 2:15 in the morning could ever sound like sweet string music, but here we are. Our next story is by Boruteeru. Student forced to pray despite not believing the faith. At a religious-affiliated university, we have a major class a few years back. My good friend who was an atheist does not believe in any religion, but was forced by our very religious professor to lead a prayer in class. He reluctantly went in front of the class and spoke a sentence in fluent Arabic. He is a multilingual student, in which we all thought he might be praying in Arabic. Once he was done, the class continued. After class, out of curiosity, I asked him what did he say. He casually mentioned that he said slurs in Arabic since no one will understand it anyway. What is funnier is that he was also forced to lead a prayer in his theology class since our school is religious affiliated. He also did the same thing to his theology professor. Additional information. I haven't asked him why he'd enrolled there, but the school accepts students regardless of their religious affiliation. Not all instructors in our department and even in the other departments force us to pray. It is a religious affiliated school, but that being said, it does seem kind of odd to me that the students would have to lead in prayer. It also seems odd that when they would pray in Arabic, the professors would just kind of go along with it. I feel like if it's gone as far as asking students to lead in prayer, they're going to like demand it be in English or that they can understand it or whatnot. The whole thing's just a really new experience for me to hear about. This next story is by TheKeekses, but you didn't specify. So this was many years ago when I was in my early 20s. I'm now 35. I worked for a pretty popular department store in their shoe department. This story is not only my malicious compliance, but also that of my coworker. Now we don't know why, but the company suddenly decided that our business casual dress code needed to be updated. The new dress code stated that all males must be wearing a tie, and all females must be wearing shoes with at least a 1-inch heel. As a female who hates heels with a passion, I was not about to spend 8 hours a day in them, especially not in my department, which had a 2-level stock room. Weak ankles, high heels, and steel stairs are not a good mixture. I had a fantastic pair of platform knee-high boots. The kind all the goths were wearing with lots of unnecessary buckles and chains. The platform was 2 inches and the dress code didn't say the heels couldn't be platforms. I immediately started wearing them to work, but because they were over an inch and the policy didn't say I couldn't wear platforms, the managers had to deal with it. As for my male coworker, he refused to wear a tie for about the first week. They threatened to write him up, so he read the policy very thoroughly. The next week he had a tie on, as a belt. The managers were flabbergasted. That's not how you wear a tie. The following day, it was a headband. Sometimes the tie was an armband, sometimes it was a scarf, and I think even once it was a sash. He made sure to tell them that he was following the policy because it just said he had to be wearing a tie. Nowhere on the policy was it stated that the tie needed to be worn around the neck or that it should be tied properly. It took the managers the better part of 3 months to get corporate to update the dress code with more details on the proper shoes and how to wear a tie. And by then, both of us had moved to the stocking team who didn't have to follow the dress code. They got to wear jeans and t-shirts and sneakers on the stocking team. It was a lot of fun watching the managers try to figure out how to correct our outfits when we were all within the policy's rules. I guess if you're going to enforce policy, you better make sure that the policy is extremely clear-cut and specific, or else people can just do all kinds of wacky stuff all the time because it doesn't outline it. This next story is by daecrist. Sure, I'll get the manager. Long ago, I was a department supervisor in the children's/teen area of a public library. The building manager was the only person above me on the org chart, and when they were out of the building, that left me in charge of everything if there was an issue. I was also very hands-on and didn't hide in my office. I went out on the floor, shelved, and worked the desk in our department pretty regularly. We also didn't have anything that identified our role in the library because it's a freaking library, who cares? So one day I'm sitting at the desk in the children's department when a mother comes to complain about something. It's been long enough that I don't remember exactly what, other than she was asking me to do something that was against policy. It was a minor inconvenience for her and she was blowing it way out of proportion. Eventually she gets that special Karen look in her eyes and says, "I want to speak to the supervisor about this." I couldn't believe it. I'd dreamed about something like this happening and I took my shot. I stuck my hand out and said, "Hi, I'm the supervisor and I'm afraid we can't do what you're asking." I can see the swirl of emotions, the dawning recognition, the annoyance, the smug look as she invokes a higher power. "Fine, then I want to talk to whoever is in charge here." I pause for a beat. I'm the only supervisor in the building. "Look at me, Karen, I'm the manager now." So I turn to the side like I'm going to get someone, then turn back and thrust my hand out again with my best customer service smile. "Hi, I'm also the building manager right now, and I'm afraid we still can't do what you're asking." She stormed off and we didn't have a problem with her again. That sounds like one of the most satisfying experiences, especially considering that they gave up and they didn't stay belligerent like a lot of other Karens would. Our next story is by I Teach Music, Gotta Have a Virtual Background. Exposition. Hello. I am a music teacher in a public school in the US. Therefore, I have been teaching from home for the last few months. Luckily, teaching online has been going well and students are able to do everything that I ask. Understandably, some parents are upset about the decisions that the school district have made and they are taking their frustration out wherever they can. One of the frustrations brought to me from my administration is that parents have concerns that you are teaching from your bedroom. Sadly, unlike the upper middle class mothers at my school, I live in a small apartment and do not have the facilities to teach from any room but my bedroom. Like many others, I am teaching over an application called Zoom and there is an option of using something called a virtual background, somewhat similar to a green screen. I was told multiple times from my administration that because of these parent complaints that I am being heavily requested, and from my admin this essentially means forced, to use a virtual background when I teach to not distract students from my clean and boring 20-something male bedroom. Malicious compliance. As the only prompt that I was given by these parents and my administration is to use a virtual background, I wanted to become creative. However, having an actually distracting background wouldn't be conducive to learning, and I still want to teach effectively. So there was only one good option. Turn on Zoom, walk out of frame, take a screenshot of my room, use that screenshot as my virtual background. Luckily, my students won't be distracted anymore. This wouldn't be malicious compliance, but the top comment says you should ask your bosses if you can go to the school and take a photo of your music room. That would actually be really cool and really smart to use as your virtual background, and it would kind of normalize the learning experience for kids, I think. So I just thought that would be kind of neat to mention. So quickly now, I want to explain just how to enter the giveaway. All you need to do is leave a comment on this video relevant to something you saw or heard or liked in any story in that video. That's it, you're entered. But it applies to every single video we upload this week. So to get the best odds at winning the $30 Amazon gift card giveaway, you'll want to leave a comment relating to any of those videos all week long. On Sunday, after the last video has gone out, I'll pick one comment at random and let you know on the following Monday who has won, and then it starts all over again. So make sure you leave a relevant comment on this video and additionally every video I upload this week for the absolute best chance to win. And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and give the videos a like too, because it helps more than you could imagine. And our final story of the day is by curiousaboutnow. My boss loves to call me at 6:15 a.m. to ask me if I would like to fill the shifts of the people who just called in sick. This is an everyday thing. I was bored and frustrated, so I decided to volunteer at 3:30 a.m. to call this same manager to ask if they needed extra help. He got super pissed and tried to write me up for it. I showed the GM the timestamps of the calls I had received. I don't get calls anymore. Short, sweet, and to the point. Yeah, if I was getting calls very early in the morning, I would start getting pretty frustrated too. That said, 3:30 a.m. is a lot different than 6:15 a.m., but I think it's justified if OP didn't want all these calls to keep coming in every morning super early. And considering it was an everyday thing, it's hard to actually blame them. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here on the Storytime channel.